And Susan, I think your situation is kind of similar. You're reaching salespeople in the field, and what that means to you is not necessarily giving them a big, long, traditional training intervention while they're out there trying to make a sale. You're talking now about how do I disseminate information quickly, updates to people regularly, and how do I know that they're getting that information? So tell us a little bit about how you're reaching people quickly. What are some of the benefits from how you're doing that? And then how you're measuring whether that's having a positive performance impact.
Okay, so we rolled out iPads, as I said, and I think it's my opportunity on that too. What I've seen in 2 organizations now about rolling out mobile devices, and it seems much more to me related to the tablet or the iPad or whatever you choose on that, the notebook. Phones we seem like we've gotten pretty good at, but I think that still in corporations to an iPad is a procurement financial decision, a capital investment. So what I've seen twice is us to have this philosophy that we're going to get technology in the hands of the salesperson, and then we didn't have like a mobility strategy. We didn't have the applications that supported the sales reps planned and implemented for them, and we didn't have leadership adoption of the device. Those are the things that need to happen to make the adoption of the device and the use of it for the salespeople to be more effective happen. You don't get that much of a benefit of it if you haven't done. You need to do training too, but you need those other things to happen. You need to have a mobility strategy of how that's going to fit in the overall tools that you're giving the salesperson. In terms of so we've done that and we rolled them out. We really only got them out to everybody by June. So we're still very early in the process. I think that I'm probably focusing right now on the fact that I don't think we've trained them well enough, and I don't think we have everything integrated, and I don't think we have been clear enough about where we're going with it. So I'd say we're in the middle of the pain point, and maybe that's why I'm answering you that way. But if you go to how are we going to measure this in the end, I think it goes back to how it's always been a challenge to measure training, actually. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have the thing about training that's great is everybody loves it. They usually, when they went to a class, they had a good time. It wasn't just because of the bar afterwards. They usually like the investment in themselves, and most training, I think, people like. And so you have the happy face feeling, but you don't have as easy of a time historically with salespeople. Besides getting surveys taken, yes, I liked it, the room was too cold, whatever they're going to judge. You haven't historically had a really easy way to say, okay, this was impactful. I can tell that my sales rep went out and his quota attainment has increased by 10% after he took this class. I think this has traditionally been a difficult thing to measure the ROI on investment training. I think with virtual training or technology training, to say, now that we're going to have mobile devices, I'm assuming I'm going to have a much easier time measuring what they're taking, measuring completion rates, still doing surveys, but starting to tie it a little bit better back to their performance, because I can exactly see who attended what, how long they took it, that kind of thing. So.
And I'll add something to that. When it comes to performance type training, what you're trying to do before the training even occurs or the information is even put out there, you're trying to understand what exactly am I trying to achieve with improving performance? What are the measurable goals that I can attain by putting this out there? And if I can measure them, then by all means, let's come back and measure it. It may be hard to claim that you've increased sales when you're talking to the sales manager or what have you, and he wants to think that his pep talk right before they went out was the secret to success. But you can at least point to some numbers when you've got them and say, we certainly had something to do with this, and learning or this information we put out there that made people, it contributed to their improved performance. So I think that's important for us in the learning space to try to keep that in mind, to continue to improve our value whenever we can. Well, Doug, we know that there are plenty of benefits to putting out content and learning, when people can consume it and how they can consume it best. Talk about the dark side of the force, if you will, when it comes to mobile learning and any potential pitfalls you may have experienced, some of your own situations that you think others might be on the lookout for in that area.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, it comes down to the content, and the key behind the content is it mapped to what you want to get in performance? And if it is, that's a great place to start. But from there, it's about how can you replicate the content rapidly and in multiple formats for folks. And so for us, the traditional path would have been a course, a sit-down, instructor-based course. We've transitioned that to the virtual, where we put the burden on the learner up front. We say, look, there's a lot of pre-work here. You're going to do that. You come into this course, you've got a level playing field now. You have a set of knowledge. And at this point, we're not lecturing you. We're discussing the applications. We're showing you, we're doing role plays and things like that. So this virtual environment, we're using WebEx as the basis for it, but the virtual environment is a very engaged environment. So you can't, it's not like a webinar where you can sit back and look. You really have to focus on being in that spot and being in that place at the time. And the learning we've seen out of this is really substantially different. And there are two instances that I'd like to point to for the dark side part of that. One is on behavior change. So traditional courses, people would go there, and after that, they'd head to the bar, they'd do whatever, but they weren't really focused. We're finding that the virtual student is much more focused. They're purposeful in what they're doing. They're committed to the time that they're in front of the screen. They're on camera, they're on mic, so they're there. There's not fumbling with the phones or anything like that, so they're very focused about that. They also enjoy the engagement that they're getting. One of the things that one of our trainers said that was really interesting is you've got to be a really good listener, he said, when you're teaching virtually, because you're listening for people that are maybe just not there right now, and you got to bring them along and bring the smaller class along. So that's what they focused on quite a bit. When you think about the dark side, though, moving that beyond is, again, we go back to this content idea of designing the content and then replicating it multiple times. So we've done things with obviously a lot of online content, but we've been working on gaming simulations, and some people are there, some people aren't yet. So what you have to offer is kind of a smorgasbord of options around the same content, but it comes back to using it and performing better on the job. And that's really where all the courses we design have performance support tools associated with them. So rather than dip back into a course, they can go right into a performance support tool where they can do some keyword searching and get to what they need. The other thing that we've been focused on a lot is gaming. Gaming is stealth learning to me, because once I give you a game, you play it more than once, you're learning, and you're going to get better at it. And from that, there's a learned behavior that's occurring there. So we're beginning to insert gaming more in everything that we do in order that they get used to seeing it as a nice supplement to what might be more of a traditional learning product.